Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. With me, your host, Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator. And today, I am joined by author VaNae Walker, whose book is titled, I had to do a pregnant pause because I think this is so powerful, Finding Freedom, the Grace in Forgiveness. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So, before we get into the book, and we're not going to tell them everything that's in the book, we need them to all purchase their own copy. But
Yes.
just tell us about you. What do you do during the day? All the things that people may or may not gather from the book.
Okay. Well, first off, I am VaNae Walker. Thank you so much for having me here. During the day, a little bit about me. I work for United Healthcare during the day. I am also in school completing my second master's degree, which will be in marriage and family therapy. So in the evenings, I am actually seeing clients or doing homework. So that is my life right now.
I love it. So United Healthcare, so in healthcare insurance, so interesting. Um, so then as a marriage family counselor, that whole reimbursement um, challenge that you may have as you navigate, but hopefully insurance companies will start to see the value of covering beyond health, just regular healthcare services, because there's so many aspects of our lives that if they're not healthy, it impacts our physical health, our mental health. And so you're like the fifth person that I know that's going for that degree. I know this is really weird. I know a physician assistant who is going through that same program. In fact, right now she's doing her clinicals, right? So she's seeing patients and she'll be wrapping up shortly. But it was something that she actually saw as a clinician was important for her patients. And so she wanted to be able to, be a PA during the day and in the evening do counseling. So
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. It's so needed.
I thought about going back to school, but then let me put my glasses on so we can get moving because I got to make a statement, then I'm done. I looked at my student loan debt and then realized that I was done. Done.
I understand. That was my hesitation with going back, but I said, God, if it's for me to go back, then you make it work. And when I tell you he discharged 90% of my student loan debt, I knew that it was for me to do it. So here I am.
Yes, same God, do it for me.
And he will.
So let's talk a little bit about the book. And before we even get into the meat and potatoes of the book, a lot of people are afraid or reluctant to forgive others. And I really have learned through life, 51 years on this earth, that forgiveness is not for them, it's for you.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times we see people, oh my gosh, I know someone who, bless her heart, such a nice lady, but you can tell that she's carrying so much baggage from childhood to present.
Hmm.
And it really interferes with her developing relationships with others because we could see, like, deep down below, there's
Hmm.
this nice person, but the ugly portion of her shows up so much.
Yeah.
It's like if you didn't know her, you would be like, this person is, right?
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the book journey. So why did you write the book? Everybody has a why.
Yes. So my why came from some very traumatic experiences that I had within a marriage or within my marriage. It took me years to forgive. Every time I thought I forgave, there was something else that happened. And I just felt like I just kept clawing, trying to find some peace and some freedom in my life. And I just couldn't. So, kind of like your friend, there were so many ugly parts of me because I was so bitter and so angry. And finally, it was like God said the same thing. The forgiveness is not about him or them, it's for you. And when you choose to forgive, then I can like release everything that I've been holding up for you. And so in that moment, I began to just pray and ask God to help me to forgive and heal my heart. And when I tell you, once I forgave, it seemed like the heavens opened up. But it was a journey for me to get to that place. It was many years, more years than I would have really liked to give to to it. But I refused to let it go. And once I had to walk through that journey, then I said, you know what? I want others to experience the same freedom and to be able to walk it out and to just be free and let those people go, because guess what? They're going to sleep at night and they're going on with their life. But I was stuck, and other individuals are stuck as well. So my why behind it is that I want others to experience the same joy and the same freedom and peace that I have right now.
Mm. You said some really powerful things, some confirmation for me. I'm actually working on my second book. I have a draft of all 12 chapters. And my book really speaks to shedding what no longer serves you so
Mm,
that you can grow.
yes.
And I refer to it as weight, WEIGHT.
Hmm.
And we carry so much invisible weight, yet everybody seems to be focused on the physical weight. But it's
Yeah.
some other stuff that is weighing us down.
Absolutely, absolutely. And really, if we really think about it, it's the weight of the things that we're carrying. But when we're carrying that weight, it also packs on the physical weight because of the stress in our lives, which adds weight in itself. Either we're gaining weight or we're losing a lot of weight. One way or the other, the weight is involved, the physical weight is involved.
Wow. So you wrote this book, I'm going to say for you, because when you write a book, yes, you want it to have an impact on the world. You're leaving a legacy of you, when you're no longer here. But for me, it was the vehicle that allowed me to be free, to give myself that grace that I needed to move forward with life. And
Yeah.
so now that you've released it, you can help others, especially as a marriage and family therapist. You're not just talking about theory, you're talking about I've been through the storm and the rain and I made it. And
Yeah.
so let's talk about how I can help you make it through your storm and come out on the other end victorious.
Yes. That's what it's about.
So let's dig into the book a little bit. Now again, everybody, I have the book. If you've been watching this show for the last year or so, you know I have every book. Amazon, unfortunately, shows up at my house quite frequently. And so I want to first talk about one part, and this is on page 11, where you talk about forgiveness and boundaries.
Hmm.
I think, no, not I think, I know that I've been in relationships where I needed to set those boundaries. I didn't set those boundaries. And for a long time, um, I was angry when I needed to really look in the mirror and see that you were the problem. The mountain was me,
Yes.
not that person. So tell us a little bit about forgiveness and boundaries and you mentioned here, and I have to say this: forgiveness. You like my glasses?
I
Oh,
do. And they're
yes, honey.
yellow.
Yes. Found these on the Amazon too while I was buying a book. So forgiveness doesn't mean allowing harmful behavior. Talk to us about that.
Yes. So when I say forgiveness doesn't allow harmful behavior, that just means that you can create boundaries. It does not mean that you have to allow someone to still penetrate your space, penetrate your heart. So it's important, and your mind, yes, absolutely. So we can forgive, but that doesn't mean that we have to allow people back into our space. You can still love them, but love them from a distance, because sometimes when you continue to allow them in your space, they'll continue to hurt you, because the reality is people will do what you allow them to do. So as long as you allow them to continue to be in your space and to be a large part of your life and give them access to you, that's also giving them access to continue to hurt you and
Mm,
mistreat you and mishandle you.
hmm
So those boundaries are important.
Oh my God. And boundaries are not just for, you know, intimate relationships, it's for all
All
relationships, right?
relationships, yes, indeed.
And, I think back on my life, and I'll just use, because there are some biblical references in the book,
Hmm.
I'll just use church, for example.
Yeah.
People talk about being hurt by the church. And I have found that part of it is because they haven't set boundaries with regards to how they interact with other parishioners, right?
Yeah.
And I used to hear people say, well, this happened to me and that happened to me. And I'm like, none of that happened to me. But then I'm reminded of the fact that I wasn't the person that was going to dinner with everybody after church.
Hmm.
In fact, right after the benediction was given, I was in the car
Yes.
because I needed to protect my own peace. I
Yes.
wasn't there to make friends, even though I made a lot of friends that,
Mhm.
friends that are lifelong friends. But I was very clear on why I was there, right? It wasn't to meet people,
Yeah.
but also I was very clear on, and am very clear on, who Lisa is. And I didn't go there looking for love. Like I wasn't trying to be the first
Right.
lady, right? That wasn't that
Yes.
wasn't my ministry.
Yes.
And so as I look back on my life, I realize that in all circles that I run in, I have boundaries. And I think it's wisdom.
Yes.
And it's something that I'm not ashamed of. I think sometimes people are like, hey, why did she leave so early? Or why did she do this? Because I showed up, and now I'm going back to my secret place,
Yes.
uh, where I know all is well.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think people also forget that when you're in the church, you're still dealing with humans. You're still dealing with people. Although it's the church, and it should be, and it we want it to be a safe space, but you're still dealing with people, and people can hurt other people. So
Hurt
no matter
people.
where you go, boundaries are necessary on your job, in the church, in your family. Boundaries are necessary, like
Yes.
you said, to protect your peace.
Yes, because you know that old saying, and it's so cliche, but it's true, that hurt
For
people.
people.
And if you're not like strong enough to recognize it, you literally get sucked into their stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So I have another and this is my favorite part of the book. And I think it's my favorite part of the book because my pastor, who's no longer with us, Bishop Willie James Campbell, he was a praying man, and he knew the word too. Um, you talk about practicing forgiveness in prayer and how it's a powerful tool for cultivating empathy.
Mhm.
But then you go on to say, bringing the other person before God allows us to see them through his eyes. And I'm gonna fast forward, you say, spend time in prayer asking God to help you see the person you need to forgive through his perspective. Request the ability to understand their struggles and offer grace.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of a song we used to sing. Oh, what peace we often forfeit.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
what
yes.
needless pangs we bear. All because we
We
do
do
not.
not carry everything to God in prayer.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And you know what? I don't know about you, but as I get older, it's literally the songs from that I heard in the 70s and 80s that
Yes.
really get me through. You
Mhm.
don't understand it then, right?
No,
But when you
not
get
at all.
older, you like, listen, I know my husband, like, if she sing one more song, I'd be up in here talking about pass me not.
Yes. Ooh, honey. Those hymnals are they will take you there. They will get you there.
And I think it's a lost thing. But so I really found that was really impactful for me. Um, but you also talk about embracing empathy.
Mhm.
Um, talk to us what it means to have empathy, because I think people confuse empathy and sympathy, and they're different.
They are. They're very different. When I speak about empathy or just in general think about empathy, that is just clearly putting yourself in the shoe of the other person, because sometimes we don't know what people are going through and why they're responding or carrying on the way that they are. And we get hurt, yes, in the process. But if we just take a moment to consider what they may be going through in the moment, or think about, because a lot of times the people that hurt us are people that are close enough to really hurt us. So that means that we know a little bit about their journey, their history. So if we would take a moment to take a step back, think about their family history, think about the trauma that they may have experienced, most times they're responding from that place. And so when we put ourselves in their shoes, then it's a little easier to extend that empathy and grace toward them. That doesn't mean that you don't create those boundaries, but you're able to understand a little bit better why they may be responding the way that they are, or their behaviors the way that they are.
I love it. There's this slogan on social media. I would say in the last couple of months, we listen, but we don't judge.
Yes.
And I read a book, I would say probably 2 years ago, which really centered around being a listener versus a judger, because
Hmm.
a lot of times you learn more by listening, and I think sometimes that's hard. And I'll just use an example with a group of powerful women, right, who are degreed to the yin yang, and everybody wants to be in charge. But I have found, as a leader who is strong and confident in my abilities, I have found that when I'm just in the room and I'm just smiling and listening, I'm learning so much, to the
Yes.
extent that I could write a book, write an article about that whole conversation. And so I walk away with knowledge that I would not have otherwise had, because I'm not in the front. I'm
Right.
sitting in the back. And
Yes.
I'm okay with sitting in the back.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I come out when I need to come out. Other than that, I stay in.
Yes, I'm the same way. I'm always the one that's going to stand in the corner and observe and listen. I speak when I need to.
Okay, so let's see. We got about 10 minutes left, and we don't want to we don't want to give them everything. So one thing that I want to talk about is a forgiving mindset. Because I talk a lot about growth mindset, but I haven't really talked about forgiving mindset. What does that mean?
So for me, a forgiving mindset is allowing offenses so much shelf life, right? So when something occurs, you give it a minimal amount of time to consume your thought life and you forgive quickly, because the longer you allow it to settle in your mind, the longer you choose not to forgive, the longer it infiltrates every part of you. You become angry, you become bitter, and then you begin to respond from that place. So for me, I have come to the place now where I said anything that happens, it has 48-hour shelf life. So that means I only have 48 hours to think about it, to process it, to be mad, to have a tantrum, cry, whatever it is I need to do. And then I have to dust myself off and say out loud, I forgive them. Whether I get an apology or not, I choose to forgive them. And that way I can remain free and I can continue to walk and maintain that freedom. So for me, that's what a forgiving mindset is not allowing it too much time to fester, because the more we think about things, we have conversations in our minds that never happen with the person, but we're having a conversation as if we are having a conversation, and it's all in our heads. So if we choose to forgive quickly and keep that at the forefront of our intentions, then it's easy to just keep moving forward, shake those things off, and remain free.
I love it. I'm reminded of that statement that you're allowing that person to live rent free in your
Yes.
mind, in your
Yes.
body, in your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only so much time in the day. I can't have all that stored up. I
No.
I even say I think about, protecting my emotional real estate. I say that a lot
Okay,
because,
I like that.
as a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a friend, a soror, I only got so much capacity.
Right.
And so, protecting my emotions has really served me well because I like that 48-hour cool off period. But I also have really learned how to recognize my triggers,
Mm,
whether it be people, things, or situations,
yes.
and which allows me to, take a step back,
Mhm.
be quiet, and not ruin any relationships, but
Yeah.
then also realize which relationships need to be uh you know have that boundary where my
Right.
interaction with that person or situation or things is limited.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I love that. I love that. Protecting your emotional real estate. I love
You can
that.
use that.
I'm going to.
Well, and you know what, as we get older, you learn what really matters.
Yes.
And that physical aspect, that emotional aspect, that spiritual aspect, all of those things are important to me. So I
Hmm.
have to protect them
Yes.
because I cannot rewind the clock.
You can't. You cannot. And to that point, one of the things that I realized once I finished the book is I felt like I lost so much time because I chose not to forgive. I missed out on relationships and just time, precious time, time with my kids, time with my family, those that are closest to me, because I just chose to hold on and be angry over in the corner. And so I'm very, very mindful about my time and where I invest it and who I give it to now.
Ooh, you just really kind of took away from what I was gonna. I was gonna ask you that, and I'm still gonna ask you because you may have more that you want to say to that person who says, "I just cannot forgive them." And you just talked about losing time that you can't get back. But what else would you say to that person? I can't do it. I can't do it.
I would say you can if you want to, because everything that we do in life is a choice, and we either choose to remain stuck and in that rut, or we choose to forgive and move forward with our lives. So as challenging as it is, and it is, I can speak from personal experience, it is a challenge. But if you really want it, you can. And it takes work, it takes time, it takes patience. More importantly, it takes prayer.
I love it. I love it. So, listen, where can our listening and viewing audience find you? I know everybody has their either website or social media channels that they are on. I'm actually reevaluating some of my social media channels because some stuff going on that I'm just not liking. But
Yeah.
another story for another day.
Yes, so I do have a website, which is my counseling and coaching website, but individuals are able to find me there at gracefulllivingcc.com. I also can be reached via email, which is VaNae at gracefulllivingcc.com.
I
Or they
love
can find me on social media, which would be under Graceful Living Coaching and Counseling.
I love that graceful living. We don't give ourselves enough grace. I think sometimes we are our own worst enemy because we're
We
not
are.
giving ourselves grace.
Absolutely.
It's
Always.
something you said earlier really resonated with me. You talked about you were kind of like stuck. And that reminds me of a scripture. Now, let me just tell everybody because I don't want y'all to think I'm a Bible scholar. I did go to Bible study and vacation Bible school and Sunday school when I was younger, but I'm reminded of this scripture, and I don't know the book and the number. The Bible scholars will, but
Hmm.
it was about separating that which is not like you, and then I'll receive you. So you got to close the door
Yeah.
on the situation, allow yourself to go through the process of forgiving, and then transition into kind of like the middle space. I call it the messy middle, where you just,
Yeah.
you're trying to figure it out. But then on the other side of the messy middle is the new beginning.
A new beginning. Yes.
And I
Yeah.
love a new beginning.
Yes. It's a new beginning. It's fresh. It's refreshing. It I mean, it depends on your choice to get there or not, right? But you said something that just resonated with me as well, and reminded me of something that God told me through my journey is you have to go through this process. You can't skip steps. You can't jump from being angry to being at the new beginning. You have to go through the process. And the only way to get to the other side of the fresh start is through. But what he reminded me is I will go through it with you, but you have to be willing to start the journey, start the process, and I'll be with you every step of the way.
Mm, I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, I want to thank you again so much for number one, publishing your book, Finding Freedom, the Grace in Forgiveness. I wish you the best of luck with your counseling business.
Thank you.
Folks, it's 2025. You can get counseling on the Zoom. Your phone is more than just TikTok, Instagram, all the things.
Absolutely.
MySpace. Oh, do they still have MySpace?
I don't think
Uh,
so.
but young folks are like, what's a MySpace?
Right.
But I challenge you all to be willing to take that step to forgive so that you can move forward. And this has been another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. We'll see you next week.